Good morning. I'm going to go over lesson 2.2 right now with you. This is out of your Savvas or your Pearson or Savvas textbook, and this can be found on page 71. So here we are just looking at how to represent rational numbers on a number line. In the previous lesson, we saw how integers can represent real-world situations like elevation. So when we're looking at this picture on 71, see there's birds above the water line. There's some things underneath the water line too. So we can visualize this in a picture like this, but we can also use a number line. So I'm going to zoom in here. Let's do this and see how we can use a number line to represent these locations. So down here, here's 0. So we have to first think, all right, what does 0 represent in this situation? And yes, we saw in the previous lesson that 0 represents this water line right here. So anything above the water line are positive numbers, and anything below the water line we see as negative numbers. And the further below we go, the further down we go, the lower the number gets, the lower and lower. So these numbers are getting smaller and smaller, lesser and lesser, we could say. So how do we use a number line, though, to show that? Well, we can think of, here's 0, here's the water line right here, and then somewhere between 0 and 1 is going to be the bird, because the bird is above the water line. So the bird is 3/4 of a yard. So we need to know, where is 3/4? Well, we can split between 0 and 1. We could split it up into fourths. I'm going to just ask you to pause right here and go through this. See if you can split up our number line and place each of these numbers on the number line, and then hit unpause, and then we'll go over it together. Okay, so here is between 0 and 1. I'm going to split it into 4 sections, which means I need 3 lines. Made them rather big here. 3 lines, which splits this into fourths. So each jump is 1/4. So we would count 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4, which is 1 whole right here. So here is where we would put our bird right there on 3/4. 1, 2, 3/4. And then we're looking at other things such as what's a dolphin is at -1/4. So below the 0, we're also going to do the same thing. I'm going to cut it in half. Now let's stay here. Half, and then cut each half in half. That makes nice even fourths. So now we're counting -1/4, -2/4, -3/4, -4/4. So we're starting at 0. We count the same way, but we're moving in a different direction. So -1/4 is going to be right here. So that's the dolphin. The shark is at -1/2. So we can think of that is in a fraction form instead of decimal form. Memorize that. 0.5 is 1/2. That's a memory fraction right there. So our shark is right here, and the turtle is at -1, which is already listed right here. And that is what we're studying today, is how do we represent rational numbers, fractions, on a number line, and how do we order those. So let's take a look at our examples right here. Much of this will say kind of pretty much the same thing that we said, where I do want to point out that here we're starting at 0. When we count backwards, when we count in this direction, okay, we first need to figure out, what are we counting by? Like, what does each mark mean when we count? So we're going to have to look at between 0 and -1, or 0 and 1. We're just going to have to look between 2 integers and count how many spaces are there. So here I see there's 1 space here, there's another space here, another space here, another space here. There are 4 spaces, which means these are split into fourths. So 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, 4/4 right here. And then that can help us figure other things out as well. When we're trying to put numbers in there and to put a rational number on a number line. We do see here there are other fractions listed here, like 3/5 is listed here. 3/5 is a little bit over 1/2. It's a little bit more than 1/2. So moving in the positive direction, we would have to move past 1/2 and then go to wherever 3/5 is. We don't really see how this is split into fifths right here, but they're just showing you as an example where these would lie right here. It does mention up here what rational numbers are, so we do need to know what a rational number means. What does it mean to be a rational number? It's simply a number that can be written in fraction form. Any number that can be written as one integer over another integer. It could be positive or negative. And it does say something very important down here that we do need to know, that b, like the bottom number, the denominator, can never be 0. You can't put a 0 down there. So one integer over another as long as you don't put a 0 as the denominator. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these other examples right here. If we wanted to find this number on a number line starting at 0, -4/3, we do need to know that it equals -1 1/3, and that means when we start at 0 and we count in this direction, we will pass -1. So we go past -1 and then go another 1/3 past it. So that's why we've marked it here between -1 and -2. Here's a vertical number line. -1 1/2 means we're going in the negative direction, so starting at 0, we're moving down, and we have to move past -1 and then go 1/2 more. So it would be located here. Okay, you try it, and we'll come back in just a second. So pause right here, do the try it, and then we'll look at the answer. Okay, here we go with our answers right here. First, we want to think of these as mixed numbers. So -5/4 is -1 1/4, and here we have the mixed number here. That means we need to pass, like when we start at 0 and we're moving in the negative direction, we need to pass -1 and then go 1/4 more. And then same thing here, we need to pass -1 and then go 1/4, 2/4, 3/4 more. So that's where we would locate, let me do this. This is this one right here. 3/4 after the 1/4. It's almost to -2. And then this is 1/4 after the -1 here. And then same thing on a vertical. So we're moving in the negative direction, move past -1 to get to those right there. All right. We see some of the same things right here. So we can use a number line to compare these. So when we compare and we use these symbols, do you remember those? So this symbol right here means less than, right? So this is our less than symbol. It's going to be easier if I type it here. It looks like a big giant L. That symbol kind of looks like an L. So we're going to say that this is the less than symbol. That means when you see that symbol, you say the words is less than. And then when we see this symbol here, this is the greater than symbol. So when we are comparing these, if it's our job, we want to compare these three numbers, 2/3, 1 75/100, and -75/100. If we want to compare those and figure out, well, which one is greater or less than, a good strategy is to put them on a number line. Set them on here. So here we have 0. Here's 2/3. Now 2/3, we can split it up into thirds, and we can jump 2 times. It doesn't look like they did that in the example, but I think in the example they didn't really show how they placed those points. They just want you to know this is where 2/3 is right here. 1 75/100 is 1 3/4, so that's placed right here, almost to the 2, right? And then -75/100 is moving in the negative direction, 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. Now that these are set in place, we can see that the further to the left, further in this direction we go, the numbers get lower and lower. That means this is going to be the lowest number, this is going to be the next lowest, and then this is going to be the greatest number. So we can set those in order, boom, 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 and say this is less than 2/3, which is less than 1 75/100. And let's just kind of take a look at number 3 also. 3 has to do with relationships right here and the types of words that we use. So here we see Sam and Rashida. They are swimming at different depths, of course, and so we can interpret this in different ways. Definitely, negative 40 is less than negative 25. Once again, you can think of a number line. How about we use a color we can see in there, a number line, and if 0 is here, as we move down to the negative side, what's the first number we're going to see? Is it negative 25 or negative 40? Yeah, negative 25 will be in here, and then somewhere further down is going to be negative 40, which means negative 40 is less than negative 25. It's lower, it's further to the left on that number line. And you can see in the picture, it's further down, it's further under 0. So here we have our relationship of the numbers. But listen to what it says here. Rashida is a greater depth. So we use the word greater to describe negative 40 when we're talking about depth, because depth can be a negative word. That means it's deeper. It's greater under, or greater lower, or greater negative than Sam. So it's kind of strange sometimes how we use language. We use a word that means negative. So for example, when we talk about debt, debt is when you owe money. So there we go. So if somebody owes negative 40 or owes $40, that means they have, like in the bank, you could say, well, they have negative $40 in the bank, right? Because they owe $40. Somebody else has negative $25 in the bank. All right, so who has a greater debt? In other words, who has a greater negative? Negative 40. So sometimes we do use the word greater to describe a lesser number when the word itself is a negative word, like debt or depth. Those are just some examples. So you might see some of those in the future. All right, so here's what I would like for you to do is there's a summary right here. Key concept is the summary. Go through these, and then you can answer these questions. There's questions on the other page, and work on those, and then come back here. I'll put the answers right up here for you. So click pause or stop the video, work those out, and then come back when you're ready for the answers. Okay, let's just take a look. I'm just going to show them to you. You pause when you need. I'm not going to, I'll tell you what, I'm going to zoom in a little bit here and just scroll it down. Okay, so here's our answers for these. Just hit pause, check your answers. Okay, and let's get to the next page here. Here are the answers. How much down there? I'll just try to get these. Okay, you could just hit pause right here, check your answers. All right, and 24 is there. Okay, that's it. Bye-bye.